gentlemen. Welcome here to the ICSV showcase. My name is Herman Piana. I'm with Fetters Pharma, and I would like to give you a brief introduction to a case study in novel high-volume RABS-based prefilled syringe manufacturing for vaccines and how the pharmaceutical industry is going to respond to future public needs. A short overview of what I'm going to talk about today, a little bit about the vaccine market, some emerging fields in vaccines and new indications coming up, some manufacturing challenges that come with that, and a small outlook into current vaccine delivery trends, and with a particular focus on prefilled syringes versus vial in that industry. And as I'm from Fetters, of course, I would like also to touch a little bit on our answer to that. We are, as we speak, bringing on an innovative, flexible, high-speed filling line on stream. A few words about the flexible characteristics of this new line, and then the conclusions. Vaccines really have in recent years re-emerged as growth drivers. As you can see, the global pharmaceutical industry is anticipated to grow from 2011 to 2015 from around 890 billion euros to about 1.1 trillion euros, with an average growth rate somewhere between 3 and 6%. On the other side, the vaccine market, of course, is much smaller, from 27 billion in 2011 growing to about 33 billion in 2013, however at a much higher growth rate, and this makes it certainly still an attractive market. What are some of the drivers and trends in the industry? An improved understanding of human immune system and pathogen biology have enabled the development of novel vaccines targeted also to new indications with partly high unmet needs. The commercial potential of these novel vaccines has been proven by the rapid uptake and the commercial success of some of these new high-value products in comparison to the classical seasonal flu vaccines. And companies are also facing increasingly saturated markets for some basic vaccines in the West, and this has triggered an increased focus on the development world, where there are still some high unmet needs. Of course, the global aging population results also in a large unmet need for vaccination against diseases of the elderly, and these targets include viruses, but also bacteria with antibiotic resistance, non-infective diseases, and things like biodefense. And advances in molecular biology techniques replacing classical egg inoculation methods will also be faster, cheaper, and safer. To continue on the trends, let's focus also a little bit on some indications. A very prominent example is meningitis B, which is widely regarded as one of the next near-term blockbuster opportunities in this industry. A second potential interesting group are vaccines targeting tropical diseases such as Japanese encephalitis or dengue fever. And still, traveler diseases like malaria and yellow fever continue to stay active vaccine targets in the Western world. And at the same time, such vaccines can also be supplied in endemic countries at a different price level, of course, using a low price, high volume approach. And there's still some substantial research ongoing in this field. And in the long term, vaccines against infections with hospital-acquired infections such as MDR, Staphylococcus aureus are also attractive propositions, as increasingly bacterial resistance is limiting the efficacy of current antibiotic therapy. And last but not least, on the horizon, there are therapeutic vaccines representing another promising area, to mention here Alzheimer. If you look at the development in recent years, we are moving to an increasingly challenging target group and indication. The classical markets for diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis, cholera, hepatitis A, and these things these markets are considered to be covered for the most part, and there is a clear shift towards newer indications, as I already highlighted. And in addition, also the population changes that are targeted. From infants and children and adolescents, which usually show a pretty good immune response, there's more and more focus on elderly patients, adults, or chronically ill patients with a somewhat impaired immune response. And so both the new challenges, the new targets, as well as the new patient groups clearly pose new challenges for the entire industry. If we look ourselves as a CMO, what are the characteristics and requirements for a CMO like Fetters to be successful in this area? If we look at the filling of standard seasonal or pandemic vaccines, the characteristics as we see it from our point, these are very large, typically multi-year projects, however rather volatile, because it's not predictable when and how a pandemic will occur. And typically, if it occurs, we have extremely short cycles. And the requirements in this case, of course, is a need to have temporary surge capacity available. There need to be pre-agreed inventories for packaging materials available. There needs to be high capacities in automatic visual inspection and in the warehouse. And this is only possible if you have some mock-up seasonal strain vaccine registration documents already in place, and of course a pre-agreed logistics with your partners. In return, if we look into some of these standard high-value, I would call them non-seasonal vaccines, the characteristic here, like in the meningitis field, is a little bit different. The characteristics here, also due to the high cost of these APIs, the quality expectations and expectations for yield are very high. There's a lot of focus also on supply security. Typically, the production and the steps included are much more complex. Sometimes these vaccines are multivalent against multiple targets. And of course, also possible longer-term business contracts are in place. Requirements, continuous production. You do a lot of quality scorecard and joint evaluation with your clients, longer-term commitments. And due to this high quality and high yield requirement, you need really state-of-the-art filling technology. What are current delivery trends and how does it tie into these filling technologies? There is a trend, as we see, to move towards pre-filled syringes, highly compatible with most vaccines products, including influenza. It's a well-established technology with what we see is a growing market share. There are also other new technologies coming up, like nasal sprays and transdermals. And it's presumed that it's significantly more costly to produce and market than vials or pre-filled syringes. And some other areas are, there's a clinical interest in predetermined needles attached to pre-filled syringe during filling. And there's also some research that indicates that many clinicians are likely to prefer flexibility in needle size choices. So both trends are a little bit contradictory. But we clearly see that the pre-filled syringe starts to replace vials also across the board in vaccines. And some of the reasons I would like to highlight here, companies are looking for improvements and to reduce also the waste. There's a need for safer systems and formats that minimize the potential for errors, the smallest possible volumes for storage and transport. Also, there's a risk of needle stick injuries is reduced with pre-filled syringes compared to multi-dose vials. In particular for the practitioners that apply the vaccinations. And in small volume vials are still marginally cheaper, but the figures and calculations we have seen and also other experts came up with indicate that the difference is really not that great as believed for the most part. And multi-dose vials really take much longer to administrate as prefilled syringes. And this is also a key consideration in pandemic situations where the fast initial action to vaccinate is important. There is a study that shows it would take about, if you have to vaccinate 300 million Americans, it would require probably a long time, and with prefilled syringes you could save about 3 million hours in healthcare worker time. This alone is worth over 100 million euros in savings. And in the pandemic of 2009, about 12 to 15% of the doses manufactured were prefilled syringes, and it's believed if there's a pandemic tomorrow that this percentage would be probably closer to 30% than this 12 to 50% that was seen last time. So, I already indicated new vaccines pose new manufacturing challenges. Most of these products require cold chain storage and handling of the API. The processes are becoming increasingly more complex. Several steps in compounding, multiple subunits or conjugated vaccines. You may have to adapt your filtration and pumping steps to that. In particular, if you work with suspensions, you have to recirculate and you need aseptic processes rather than sterile filtration steps. And of course, downstream, also automatic visual inspection, secondary packaging and cold stain and storage have to be in sync with your supply chain. And there's, with vaccines, always a continuous threat to loss of biological activity. So really, the entire process chain needs to be set up and in line with coping with this challenge. This is what Fetters is bringing up on stream as we speak. It's a new line we have co-developed with Bosch, and it's placed in our Ravensburg site. We call the line RVS3. RVS stands for Ravensburg South. It's a rather innovative line where we can work with pre-sterilized syringes in a nested configuration, taking through the steps in various stages. And as mentioned, this is a co-development between Bosch and Fetters, and a lot of the know-how of Fetters also went into the design of this line. I'm going to illustrate a few of the key facts and features of this high-speed line. We have a tub-in feed here, and with a fully automatic processes of single and double back tubs. And there's also, of course, tub data reader and printer to track the syringes all the way through the process. The most innovative part is probably here. We have designed a disinfection tunnel with an automatic spray disinfection of bagged tubs. And then we remove the inner tub and bring the bag into the syringe. So this disinfection tunnel allows, at a rather high speed, a safe transportation of pre-sterilized syringes into the clean room and the filling room, which is here. And we hope to demonstrate that this can be a technology complementing conventional e-beam technology. Here with the filling machine, we have foreseen various filling pump systems. A recirculation of suspension is also possible. We have included an automated and non-destructive IPC and inline weighing for fill volume determination, also reducing the losses of units here. And once the syringes are filled, there's a outfeed Here with another unit where we can take out individual rejects that are identified here by camera systems, and also, of course, label the tubs to complete the tracking of the units throughout the system. The entire setup is designed in a closed restricted access barrier system, in a RABS system, and as already mentioned, automatic handling for rejects and for the IPC samples here in this outfit unit. Some examples of the process steps. This is the tub loading before the disinfection. This is at the start of the disinfection tunnel with the infeed here through this mouse hole. Each tub, as mentioned, can be scanned. Removal of the tub cover. Here the filling machine, syringe filling, stopper setting. Also various stopper setting technologies are foreseen, like with a stopper setting tube and pin, or alternatively vacuum stoppering, and here tracking and tracing after filling of individual units. Just as an overview, some of the technology and the capacities we have putting in here. It's really a high-speed, high-volume manufacturing line. It can fill syringes from 0.1 all the way through 3 ml syringes. It's probably one of the largest filling production capacities in the world we are adding here, and the outfeed is around between 500 and 800 units per minute. As mentioned, it's designed in the restricted access barrier system, in the RABS system, which provides, of course, more versatility and flexibility than with isolators. And we can produce multiple different products on the same line, and for a CMO as Fetter, this is, of course, a key consideration. It's designed in a very flexible modular layout. It allows rapid changeover and upgrades, so also the downtime in between batches has been optimized. And all processes are fully automized in grade A as usual at Fetter, including the spray disinfection, the reject units, the automatic APC, non-destructive inline weighing. And it's really also designed to maximize the filling speed. Yeah. To conclude my talk, I hope I could have shown you that the vaccine market is undergoing some rapid changes. There's also seen a shift to new indications, also for different target groups. We see new delivery technologies emerging, and clearly prefilled syringes are being more widely used as in the past. New vaccines require more sophisticated production technologies, posing also tough challenges. And we hope that with our new offering of this new state-of-the-art high-speed line, with some innovative features, we are capable to meet such challenges and ready for the future. Thank you for your time and attention. And if you want to learn more about Fetter and our products and services, please come next door. Our booth is just across the hallway, E83. Thank you very much.